The Avengers are often regarded as one of the biggest superhero team-ups in the history of comics. A genius scientist who can change into a monster, the god of thunder, a Russian spy, a man who can shrink down to the size of an ant, and of course, Iron Man. It is pretty tough to make games involving all these heroes and giving equal importance to each one, while still carrying the narrative ahead for the team as a whole. We were quite apprehensive when Square Enix announced they were going to make this into a video game, and even more so when they said it would have a lot of multiplayer elements. But we still went ahead and pre-ordered the game. Needless to say, we are quite happy we did so. The story starts off with Kamala Khan, a kid who gets to meet the Avengers on A-Day. A huge fan, she wins a competition to get to see them in person when the Avengers are unveiling a newer, cleaner energy source called Terrigen. However, the event soon crashes to a standstill as the Golden Gate Bridge is blown up and the Avengers fail to stop an attack on San Francisco, leading to the destruction of Terrigen and the subsequent death of Captain America. Cut to 5 years later, the city is overrun with Inhumans, who are specially abled individuals who have received powers from the destruction of Terrigen. The Avengers have been blamed for the whole incident and they have disbanded, and the world now has a new force called AIM, a company that employs robots to monitor and capture the so-called Inhumans. Kamala, who has herself gained powers, still believes in the Avengers, and while trying to figure out what actually happened 5 years back, she stumbles on something hidden. From then on, it's a tumultuous journey for her when she embarks on her own personal quest of looking for the Avengers and trying to get them back as a team. Make no mistake, superhero team-ups are totally different from stories about individual superheroes. They are much more action-packed and focus on a number of wow moments. But the plot is often less significant, and this is what I kept in my mind when I started the game. However, it doesn't disappoint, and the story is extremely good, showing the genesis of a supervillain as well as dedicating equal importance to all the heroes. Each one of them is brought in at a crucial moment, and each one impacts the game in a different way, culminating in the final boss fight. Travis Willingham as Thor does a great job of portraying a god and never fails to remind us that the enemies are indeed puny. And while each of the other actors carries out their roles extremely well, it is Troy Baker who actually stands out as Bruce Banner. Calm and composed, it's clearly evident he tries to keep the Hulk under wraps until things get too serious. At the core of the team, however, is Kamala, who starts off as someone who is a huge fan of the Avengers, grows into a powerful superhero, becomes the heart of the team, and finishes off as someone who binds them together in the hour of need. The game has two elements, the campaign and the Avengers Initiative, which is the endgame. The campaign may have been designed for co-op too, but there are only a few missions that offer that, with most of them allowing you to play as a particular superhero. This is actually enjoyable as we get to try out all of their abilities, some of which are amazing. From Iron Man who changes into his Hulkbuster, to Thor calling down his Bifrost. These are elements which actually make the gameplay much more interesting. It's a joy to play as Kamala when you are growing huge and slamming enemies, and it's pretty fun to play around as Iron Man, shooting rockets. The entire campaign is around 11 hours long and can be played solo. The team's AI is pretty good, ensuring that the other heroes are pretty lethal and also help you get revives on falling down in combat. Every hero has a skill tree which you can use to further add new moves. The game generally involves button mashing between heavy and light attacks, but there are a considerable number of abilities you can change together as well. There are iconic missions too, specific for each hero, which ties into the main narrative and also allows you to earn free cosmetics. Various vendors around the main base of operations give you certain quests, which can be completed while going ahead with the story itself, allowing you to earn loot. One of the few negatives about the game is the gear system. It is absolutely pointless. Activities keep on dropping gears of higher power levels which have zero cosmetic changes in appearance. It seems totally useless to introduce that in the game. Having said that, we come to the big question a lot of us had, the grind. Well, good news. For the campaign, it's non existent. The story doesn't require you to grind for gear or increase your power level at all, as the enemies scale down to your existing level. However, there is one mission in the main story which requires you to collect some items, and that can be done in a maximum of 10 to 15 minutes automatically, while just doing a part of a single iconic or even a part of a side mission. So, for those of you who just want to rush through the campaign, they can do so while doing minimum side quests. The game itself has some amazing visuals: lush green forests, huge canyons, and sprawling metropolitan cities. The graphics is amazing, and the game has a performance mode on the PS4 Pro which lets you play it at 60 FPS. I tried the game on a base PS4 and on my PC. The game runs at 30 FPS on a base PS4, but the frames drop a lot during the fights when the game throws a number of enemies against you or when a few heroes team up. Thankfully, that happened only a few times on my entire playthrough. The PlayStation stays pretty cool and silent even after 3 to 4 hours of gameplay. The PC, however, has the game running perfectly at around 70 plus FPS on even the RTX 2060s. However, the 1060 and the 1070 has noticeable FPS drops and texture issues. The graphics appear pretty much washed out while playing on these cards. The level design is nice. There are missions when you just need to fly through explosions and lasers as Iron Man, sneak through areas as Black Widow, plenty of chase sequences, lots of boss fights and QTEs. Iron Man has a particularly awesome mission, but no spoilers. Tony's Manor, huge laboratories, lots of different robot enemies, and a semi-open world in most story missions where you can also wander around looking for items make playing the game a wonderful experience. Some areas might feel a bit empty, but the abandoned cities have too many enemies and mini-bosses to make you sweat. The multiplayer aspect of the game is pretty boring. Drop zones are extremely repetitive and ask you to do the same objectives in different missions. There is a battle pass that you can buy for each hero. Thankfully, it's cosmetics only. You do get a few suits each for just playing through the campaign, and you need to team up with other players and go on missions, which may quickly turn boring. Most of the missions in the endgame generally have the same level design and the same set of objectives, which simply keep getting tougher as the missions progress. You just need better gear for them. I really did not see the point of that, but then again, some fans might want to enjoy the experience of being a superhero of their choice and wander around doing missions. So people who love that sort of grind will enjoy it. The fact that you can team up with your friends and go on missions makes it slightly more enjoyable, but at the end, it is what it is. A horribly repetitive endgame grind where you keep doing the same missions to level up your character, get gear of higher levels but with no cosmetic changes, and turn in bounties for different fractions. The skill tree is huge and you can unlock many different skills as you progress through the endgame, allowing you to use heroes in the way that you did not use them in the story. Once all the skills have been unlocked, Iron Man is truly powerful and you can simply go on an endless combo with Captain America. The campaign, the iconic missions, and a couple of sides of your choice will take around 15 hours, and at the price, one does wonder if it's justified. That is, if we disregard the endgame totally. Marvel Avengers has an 11-hour long campaign which for most of it has an intense, action packed story which lets you step into the boots of your favorite superheroes. It doesn't matter if you may have been a long term fan or if you are new to this series. As long as you enjoy flying around and kicking metal ass, you will love this game. However, if you are an aficionado of co op games and are stepping into the game for the endgame grind, believe me, it's not for the faint hearted. For those who love playing single player games, this is one game I would definitely recommend you. Though, I repeat myself, it's more of an action oriented game as compared to a deeply plot based game we see in single superhero storylines. The campaign is amazing, but if we have to factor in the endgame too, Marvel Avengers is an 8 out of 10 for us.